Hello, everybody, and welcome to a spring edition of Sports from A to B. Alongside Tyler Trudeau, I'm Damon Turbot. Today is Friday, April 3rd, and as usual, we will review the week that was for Spy Ponders Athletics and also look ahead to next week's matchups.
Also, we will take it to the big leagues as Damon and I discuss some of the hottest topics like the playoff races that are heating up and upcoming Red Sox season debut. And be sure to follow us on Twitter at Sports A to B as we keep you updated on all things athletic.
And now it is time for Spring's Athletics. There's finally more grass than snow, so spring sports are on their way.
You said it, Damon. The winter is behind us and we can move on to spring. Let's check in with our own Rachel Yen for an APN Sports Blast to tell us what's going around Arlington sports.
Welcome to the APN Sports Blast, where we focused on sports in and around Arlington. The Spy Ponders are coming out swinging this spring season. On Wednesday, boys and girls tennis and girls lacrosse all had matches at Stoneham and walked away with a W. AHS hopes to keep the momentum going with boys lacrosse and volleyball home openers Thursday at 4 p.m. Christian Vasquez, the Red Sox rookie who was set to be the team's starting catcher, is out for the season. Vasquez will undergo Tommy John surgery on his right elbow this upcoming Thursday. He injured his arm throwing out a Yankees runner who was attempting to steal second during an exhibition game. Sox GM Ben Sherrington said he feels for Vasquez because he knows how much the catcher loves the game. The Celtics beat the Indiana Pacers Wednesday night despite Kelly Olynyk looking like he stepped out of a boxing ring. Olynyk sustained an eye injury playing one-on-one with a teammate. Coach Stevens did not believe he would be able to play that night, but Olynyk got stitched up and scored 19 points to help the Celtics win 100-87. Tom Brady is having some well-deserved fun this offseason. Videos have been posted of him jumping off 40-foot cliffs in Costa Rica and playing basketball with the legendary Michael Jordan in the Bahamas. Yesterday, another photo surfaced on Brady's Facebook page. The QB sported a full-body cast with Michael Jordan's autograph down his leg and a caption that read, "Jordan's crossover is no joke." No worries for Pats fans, however, as the picture was, of course, an April Fool's prank. That's all we have for today. Join us next time for the APN Sports Blast. I'm Rachel Yen.
Thank you, Rachel. Now, before we move ahead and talk Sox, let's take a look at some of the Spy Ponders' upcoming games.
The Spy Ponders boys and girls tennis teams will be taking on Watertown on April 6th. On Tuesday, the girls will host Newton South. Both the boys and girls lacrosse teams are in action Monday as well. The boys head over to Linfield to take on the Pioneers. The girls will be at home as they host the Medford Mustangs.
And the Spy Ponders track season starts off the week on Tuesday when the boys head to Wilmington High School, while the girls will host Wilmington High School. Spy Ponders baseball and softball are also in action on Tuesday as they travel to Stoneham, to take on the Spartans. Now, quickly going back to that Sports Blast, Tyler, I know that you're a huge Patriots fan, and we saw the Rob Gronkowski story, obviously, but we also have these April Fool's pranks. What do you make of these prankster Patriots?
Well, I honestly think it's funny. The whole Jordan's crossover being deadly, having the full body cast, I think that was hilarious. The thing that got me most concerned about this week wasn't any April Fool's jokes. It was Tom Brady jumping off that cliff. That kind of had my heart race for a minute.
I think he jumped, I believe, 40 feet.
40
feet. I think he just scared everybody in New England and a little bit beyond. Also, 4 stories, 4 rings, I guess he's thinking. I don't know.
I mean, I also don't. But Julian Edelman to the Red Sox, hey, I would love to see. I don't know where we'd put him in the lineup with this team right now.
That one I did not believe at all. I mean, clever shot, I guess, but obviously too much talent on that roster.
Yeah, too much talent right now.
But now on to baseball. Opening day is this Monday. The Red Sox will take on the Philadelphia Phillies in Philly. Clay Buchholz takes the mound against Red Sox trade target Cole Hamels. And in a phone interview on ESPN Radio, former Red Sox pitcher Curt Schilling said Clay Buchholz doesn't have what it takes to be a number 1 starter. Tyler, do you think that the Red Sox can make a deep run into October with what they have without an ace?
I honestly don't know. I feel like throughout the season with the pitching staff that they have now, they'll be able to get by with the strong lineup that they have right now. But like Curt Schilling said in his phone interview, it's very hard to do well in the playoffs in October when you don't have that guy that you can give the ball to. Okay, shut him out. We can't have them score. The Red Sox really need that ace. Can Clay Buchholz be that ace, though? I think he can. He has the talent of being an ace. He has great movement on his pitches, great speed on his fastball, but he has the mindset of a Little League player pitching for the first time, it seems like at times. He throws a no-hitter his first debut in the major leagues. The year after that, he's struggling with his command and control. A couple years later, he has a dominant 17-7 season. Then, not so much the next. And then in 2013, when the Red Sox won the World Series, He went 11-1.
12-1.
No, 10-1 in his first 11 starts. Then he started getting in his own head with his injuries. He didn't feel that he was able to throw with his arm. And then, of course, last season was an absolute disaster. Buchholz feels that he is ready to go and that he has his stuff that has been working for him in 2010 and 2013, his 2 best seasons yet. I think Clay Buchholz can be this ace.
Okay, so you think Clay Buchholz can be this ace. I also think he can be this ace. Obviously, very inconsistent throughout his career. 2009 to 2013, also kind of inconsistent in there, but overall, 53-23 as a starter, which is very impressive. That's number 1 stuff, really. And sub-3 ERA to go along with that. So we answer, can he be that ace? Sure. His curveball is phenomenal. He's able to change his speeds. He's a fantastic pitching prospect. And obviously we've known that even before he came up to the big leagues, almost a decade ago, really, at this point. But the question is, will he? And I don't think he will. And I think that's the more important question here. I would rather see a more consistent pitcher at the number 1 spot. I understand that Buchholz has the stuff to be an ace, whereas nobody else on the staff does. But a guy like Rick Porcello may be a kind of average pitcher, but at least he's consistent and will get the job done. I'd rather see that at the top of the rotation than a huge question mark, both mentally and physically. This guy's missed some games over the last 5 years.
Do you really think that Porcello's the best option, or anyone else on this team is a better option than Clay Buchholz?
I don't know.
Because I feel the Red Sox, that's all they got. They got Clay Buchholz.
Well, in terms of having a guy with nasty potential, that's all they have. Clay Buchholz is that guy, and that's probably why they're putting him at number 1, but he's a big risk, and I don't think it's worth it for the depth of this Red Sox rotation. I think that you should just bump everybody up a spot and maybe put Buchholz back to 3rd.
From the mound to behind the plate, Red Sox catcher Christian Vasquez has had some soreness in his right elbow this spring training. This week he announced that he will be having season-ending Tommy John surgery. Right after this was announced, the Red Sox went out and traded cash for Washington Nationals catcher Sandy Leon. Ryan Hannigan is projected to be the opening day starting catcher, while Leon is expected to back him up to give more time to develop Blake Swihart. Should the Red Sox start Swihart even though he's had a great spring?
I'm going to say no here, but unfortunately, let's address the 2 catchers that we have now between Hannigan and Leon. We just went out and traded straight-up cash for Leon, who is 26 years old, but the guy has literally had really no major league experience. He's had maybe 50 games, I think even less than that. And then you have a guy who's hitting like 215 with the Rays. There's no bats there. Neither one of these guys are known as fantastic defensive catchers. So I'm kind of worried about this. The catching situation right now after Vasquez got injured, and let me say, it's really unfortunate for Christian Vasquez because this guy clearly showed some promise last year. We knew before he came up to the big leagues that he could really do something, and this is just going to be a big setback for him. And now with Swihart coming in, he may never actually get the chance to prove himself with the Red Sox, so it's really unfortunate for him. But going back to the catching situation now, it is disgusting. Swihart has the stuff probably to be better than both of these guys, but I'm glad that they're going to bring him down to the minors right now. But I really, really hope that in about a month, he's already been hot to start off the season so he can move up, because the Red Sox situation is terrible. I just want him to get some practice before he goes up to the big leagues. Guy hit about 290, 26 home runs last year. Guy has a lot of pop, has a lot of potential to bring even more deadliness to this Red Sox lineup. So I can't wait to see him, but I'm glad that we're going to wait a little bit.
Let's start with Vasquez. Vasquez was so great last year. Honestly, one of the highlights of last year's pathetic season that the Red Sox had. He has a rifle for an arm, and it's just so unfortunate to see someone that these pitchers love working with him because he has such a love and understanding of the game. And he might not be as good of a hitter as Swihart, but he was giving more behind the plate than what he was.
And a lot of times that's what is even more important than hitting is being able to work with your pitchers and create a solid staff.
But like you said, Hannigan, he batted .218 last year. All right, not awful, especially with how powerful this Red Sox lineup
is. For a catcher, you can get away with that.
Yes, for a projected lineup the way it's supposed to be, I think that having Hannigan or Leon, who is a 156 hitter, that...
You can't even really judge that because he's never really had enough experience.
Yeah, 46 games or something like you said. He really doesn't have a lot to prove before. So this could actually be good for Leon because he is going in with, oh, I'm nothing, so I got something to prove. Maybe coming with a chip on his shoulder. But really, I think Swihart needs to be in this lineup now. Hannigan and Leon really aren't going to do anything. I'd rather give the experience and give the new kid some experience to get in there, because this looks like he's going to be the catcher. Like you said, Vasquez is out for a season. If Swihart can come in and just take that spot, I personally will miss Vasquez, but I feel like what this team needs is lacking a solid catcher, and they don't have anyone extremely defensive. Like, you don't care about Ryan Hannigan's defense or Leon's
his ability to throw out runners to second base.
Yes.
I'm not really worried about that.
I think Swihart needs to be in there because this is the last piece the Red Sox are missing, minus an ace, but we've already talked about that.
The last point I want to make is just I am hesitant to have him with the Red Sox right now, just worrying that he gets off to a bad start in the majors and then it starts to mess with his mentality. I think he's too good of a prospect to take that risk with. So if anything, I'd like to see him maybe get his confidence down the minors a little bit. A lot like what Chicago Cubs are doing with their number one prospect. I can't believe that either, but another day, another topic. But hopefully, Swihart, everything works out with him. From the MLB to the NBA, the regular season is now winding down. Finally, the Celtics find themselves a half game behind Brooklyn for the 7th seed and tied with Miami for the 8th seed with just 7 games to play. The C's take on the 6th-seeded Bucks tonight and play 6 of its last 7 games against playoff teams. Tyler, is Boston in a must-win situation every night going forward?
Listen to this stat. There are 5 teams separated by 2.5 games. From Miami at the 7th spot to Detroit in the 12th or 13th spot. This is ridiculous. The East is not good, and this is why it's been such a crazy race at the end, because teams aren't necessarily fighting to win that playoff spot. Teams are fighting to not lose the playoff spot. Honestly, the Celtics have no business being in this race. But with how poorly Miami's been plagued by injuries and just how bad Brooklyn is, it has given the Celtics a chance to be able to win. And they're taking on the Bucks tonight, the 6th seed. They have only played them once before, and they're going to play them 2 more times before the season ends. They lost by 3, and that was before the trade deadline. So they definitely still have something to prove, and they definitely are a better team, in my opinion, after the trade deadline. I just think that they need to win. This team wants to win. Coach Stevens and the whole entire team is motivated to win. Even Danny Ainge wants the young guys to get in the playoffs because he can see how the playoffs could benefit the franchise. I know I've been so on the fence about not wanting this team because the draft picks, but at this point, there's not really going to be much of a difference between who you can get maybe in the 12th pick and the 15th pick. There's really no difference. So I think it is a must-win situation in all of these games, because if you drop 2 games in this last season, your playoff shot could be out the window.
I'm thinking Danny Ainge is kind of salivating at the chance to see how Brad Stevens does with this team in the playoffs, just because he wants to see what Stevens can do in the crunch time. Obviously, these last 7 games might be a good measuring stick for that. But for the Celtics, I was on here last Friday, and I absolutely trashed the Brooklyn Nets for never being relevant again. All of a sudden, surprise folks, they're 8-2 in their last 10 games, and now we're looking like a team that is going to be able to get into the 7th seed in the playoffs. It's just a matter of, can Boston beat out Miami? I'm not so sure. They did beat Miami head-to-head the other day. It's the last time they go against each other. But as I alluded to before, I almost said the Red Sox. The Celtics have to play 6 playoff teams in the next 7 games. They have to play Cleveland twice, and they have to play Toronto twice. And then they also have to play Milwaukee twice. But going back to Cleveland and Toronto, they're combined 0-4 against them this season. Cleveland's been phenomenal this second half. The Raptors might be a little bit iffy. They may be able to get some wins. But I do got to say, despite all of that, and the Celtics being outside of the playoff picture at the moment, I still think that they do find a way to get into the playoffs. I don't know how much Cleveland's going to be trying to fight for the 1 spot. I don't even think they're technically able to even win it at this point, so they may rest some players. Celtics may get a shot there. But I think the Celtics somehow, they got to win 4 games. They have to at least win 4 games to compete and hopefully win 5. But I don't know if they're going to be able to go 5-2. But I think they go 4-3 and somehow find a way to squeak into the playoffs.
I mean, like you spoke about earlier, the Nets are hot right now, but they do have in my opinion, an even tougher schedule. I believe they play the Cavs twice, they play the Hawks twice in the past 2 games. And yes, the Hawks might be resting their starters, but the Hawks also have incentive to pick their poison who they're playing in the first round by possibly being able to play Brooklyn, and also the Hawks have Brooklyn's pick. If the Hawks get Brooklyn eliminated from the playoffs, they get their pick.
Better chance of getting a better draft pick.
Better chance of getting a higher draft pick, and especially with a team like the Hawks that is just such a team based, there's not really a big superstar. Having a young, high draft pick would be great for the Hawks team. So they might be able to even stop. And honestly, I just love the determination of these Celtics. Kelly Olynyk looked like he just got beat up. He had a welt on his eye the size of a golf ball. And he came out and dropped 19 points.
He still played.
That is crazy. This is what this Celtics team is about. It is about fighting, and they are going to fight to the bitter end, and I am really excited to see what they can do.
Well, I'm glad that you finally come around after all these weeks of me saying, hey, you know what? They should make the playoffs. And you're like, no. I'm glad you're finally coming around because I think you're going to see some really exciting stuff.
Speaking of exciting playoff races, the Boston Bruins, just when you think they have lost all hope, they go on a 4-game win streak. Last night, the Bruins took on the Detroit Red Wings, down 2-0 going into the final period of play. The Bruins came back to score 3 straight goals, including Zach Troutman's first career goal that gave the Bruins the win. Damon, it seems that each week we talk about this, they do the exact opposite of what we say. Last week, you had your bowl and you picked out that they weren't going to win. But with 4 games left, is it safe to say that the Bruins are on their way to the playoffs?
Well, I just want to start by saying I'm excited for a show that we might do a couple weeks from now when the season may be over because honestly, I'm getting kind of sick of talking about the Bruins at this point. Not because I don't like the team. I am a Bruins fan, but I look like an idiot every week I come on here because it always, whatever I say, the exact opposite tends to happen. I came up here and picked out of a bowl last week, took a complete guess, said the Bruins weren't going to make the playoffs because they had lost 6 games in a row. All of a sudden, now they're ready to make the playoff run. They got a 3-point lead now with just 4 games remaining. They're going to make the playoffs now, and I'm going to say that, and I know I'm probably
going to say that.
So nobody attack me if I'm wrong here down the road if anybody reads this. It's not my fault, I swear. But the Bruins, I mean, they've won 4 games in a row, a big comeback win. They need momentum like that, and that's going to be huge going into the playoffs. So I don't see that there's any way that they do miss out. They play Florida one more time. They get a chance to distance themselves, from the other 2 teams that they're fighting with. I think the Bruins get it done.
The Bruins are surprisingly hot right now after just going back and forth. They're actually, honestly, one of the hottest teams right now. If you take away Columbus, who's been eliminated from the playoffs for about a month now, they're on an 8-game win streak, whatever. But the only other team that has a hot streak like this is the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, the Anaheim Ducks, 4-game win streak.
Including beating the Bruins.
Yes, so the Bruins are doing something right now. They are making moves. Conley is finally able to play as a Bruin after getting traded and then breaking his finger in his first practice. Krejci's been back for a couple of games. Bergeron got hurt last night, but he came back in for the 3rd final period. This team is fighting, and they kind of seem like a Bruins team as of the past few years. Tuukka Rask last night had a couple of shots that were right on the line of going in.
He's made some fantastic saves in the past.
He has been extremely inconsistent this season, but last night watching the game, it seemed like the Bruins of old, of team defense, of team making sure that puck does not go in the back of the net. And just think of what happened to the LA Kings in 2012 when they won the Stanley Cup. They were the 8th seed, much like the Bruins are most likely going to be.
They got hot at the right time.
They got hot at the right time. And honestly, in hockey, that is all that is important because when you are playing your best hockey at this time right now, it is going to carry you and bring you into momentum. They're a hot team right now. If they can stay hot and maybe, I don't know if this is a little too optimistic for how the Bruins have been playing, but if they sweep out the last 4 games of the season.
It's a tall order.
That is a tall order, but if they do it, I would not want to play the Bruins in the first. I'm not saying I'm not saying that the Canadians are gonna lose to the Bruins in the first round of the series, but I just feel like no one's gonna want to play a team going in winning their last 8 games.
Well, they might be playing the Rangers, and the Rangers actually may even look a little bit better. But going back to the Bruins season, I think of it kind of like a high school relationship, and judging by my experiences in high school and my success, that probably explains why I can't explain what's going on right now. So I kind of want to bury this topic for now. And if the Bruins do make the playoffs, which I think they will, don't quote me, then I'd like to talk about it more once we get there. The Bruins will have a tough test for them, I will say, going forward, no matter what. But you never know. With the way things have gone, they could go on to win the Stanley Cup, as you said. I feel like ever since the Giants in 2007, it seems like it's been the team that gets hot at the right time is almost favored more than who was the best team going in. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens going forward. And now finally, Rob Gronkowski is known for his amazing play on the field and lately, of course, for his wild antics off the field. Fresh off the Super Bowl win, Gronk started a fundraiser of sorts by giving Pats fans a chance to ride in the Gronkowski family party bus. He was also crushing beer on the duck boats during the Super Bowl parade, reading erotica novels about himself on Jimmy Kimmel. And this past week, he was spotted twerking on stage at the Ultra Music Festival. He's having a great time, I gotta say, Tyler, but are you concerned with the focus going forward? We've seen a pretty crazy guy here this last couple months.
We've seen a pretty crazy guy for the past couple of years. Let's be real. This is not new Rob Gronkowski. This is just Gronk being Gronk, I would say. Taking Manny being Manny. Yeah, the new Manny being Manny. Gronk being Gronk. Rob Gronkowski is one of my favorite Patriots because every day you never hear about, oh, he's not working hard enough. If I was hearing that from coaches and maybe Brady and Belichick, if they're like, yeah, he's not working hard enough, he needs to focus up more, then I would be concerned. But the guy comes in and day out and works his tail off. He was injured at the end of last 2 seasons ago during the Browns game where he tore his MCL and ACL. I didn't think he was ever going to be the player that he was. And he came back early from injury, working because he was working so hard. And honestly, I love what he's doing off the field. Yeah, the party bus is a little weird, but he is donating the money to charity. He is a good guy. He's really just a kid at heart. If you haven't seen the E60 of him, take a look at that because he is just a kid. He is just all about having fun. And having fun for him is either going out, twerking on stage, and playing football. He loves the game, and I just don't think it's as big as a distraction as like Johnny Manziel per se.
And that's what I just want to bring up to you because also, after the Ultra Music Festival, he's up twerking there on stage, and then he's just ripping shots at a bar with strangers. I mean, a guy like Johnny Manziel isn't able to get away with things like that, and a lot of other players in the league would be looked down upon for that very same reason. Why does Rob Gronkowski necessarily get away with these things?
Well, think of the Johnny Manziel situation that happened. A couple players were suspended because they came to practice hungover because they were at Johnny Manziel's house having a party. Johnny has been affecting his play on the field. It has been affecting him.
Great point.
Rob Gronkowski, this is the offseason right now. You really don't see him ripping shots with strangers at the bar or twerking on stage. Like, the one thing that Rob has really been criticized for was after the Super Bowl loss when they lost to the Giants and his foot was injured, he was out dancing all night. Yeah, that isn't necessarily the greatest thing, but if you look at all the craziness that he has done, he really does tame it down during the regular season because he's working on football. He's just not focused on it right now because the season's over. I expect Rob Gronkowski to be 100% back, focused on football, doing Gronk being Gronk. That's just all it's doing.
Well, I guess my last question for you would be, obviously you seem to be pretty confident in how he is next season, but given how much his celebrity has grown in the last few months and how much he kind of seems to love himself, and obviously, could you not? I would love myself too for him. I will say that. I'd probably be doing the same exact thing as him. But going forward, his celebrity is growing. He seems to be loving the spotlight. Do you think that there's a chance? Are you worried that he may get carried away over time, getting caught up in his self-image off of the field?
I mean, honestly, yes, I do a little bit, but that's just only not because of his celebrity growing and his ego growing. I think his ego is honestly just the same exact size because, like I said, I just think he's a child at heart. He just wants to have fun all the time, and I just think he may maybe one day do something a bit stupid. Maybe he's twerking on stage and he falls off the stage and breaks his arm or something.
He recently made some kind of sexist comments
on Jim Rome's show,
the female sports community and just the female community in general. But so, I mean, there are definitely some question marks going forward. And as you just said, there may be a point where he slips up. So he has to watch his step. But, of course, for Gronkowski, he's been a fantastic football player. So in terms of on-the-field issues, of course, best of luck to him going forward.
And unfortunately, that is all the time we have. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to check out next week for a Sports Blast update and tune in. In a couple of weeks, I will not be here next Friday, so there will be no Sports from A to B, but tune in the next couple of weeks for a new episode of Sports from A to B. I'm Tyler Trudeau.
Well, that's news to me. I didn't know we would be here next week, but make sure to follow us anyway on Twitter at Sports A to B. We'll make a couple tweets from here during the long break. We'll keep you updated on all things Arlington and Boston sports. I'm Damon Turbot. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in a couple Fridays.
Ooh!
That was nice.
That was nice.
Ready for this?
Yeah.